years.
Yeah. Well, for the rest of his career, I think when you've done what he's done in the last few years, you just set the standards, then everybody expects you to maintain.
Do you think the scrutiny and sometimes the criticism has been fair? Are there any fresh injury concerns from the game against Chelsea?
No.
And the players that have been missing out in Capier, Calafiori, Mosquera and Dowman, any chance for this weekend for those?
It might be. So I need to meet now the medical staff. We have a training session now and see if somebody is available for the weekend.
You're not going to tell me who are you?
I cannot tell you because I don't know.
I want to ask you about Victor Gyökeres,
Yeah.
Mikel. Massive goal in midweek. Can you just give us an insight into how he's been behind the scenes, whether he's actually doubted himself and the kind of conversations you've had with him?
No, I haven't seen that. Obviously, he's a very demanding person. He knows the level that we need, and basically, he really wants to fulfill everything that we expect of him. And he's been really trying. He's been very consistent, and I thought that against Chelsea he had a great game and scored the goal that helped us to win the game.
When I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago and asked you about Victor, you said he's going to have to get used to the scrutiny for the next 5.5 years.
Yeah. Well, for the rest of his career, I think when you've done what he's done in the last few years, you just set the standards, then everybody expects you to maintain.
Do you think the scrutiny and sometimes the criticism has been fair on him?
I don't know. It's part of the expectations, but it's not only for Victor. It's for every number 9 in the league or in every top club or in every position that you play. Or in my seat, we expect to be really good, really consistent, and to win constantly. And that's what we have to try to do.
This is going to be the 4th game in 10 days. I could reel off a whole load of other stats about the number of games that you've been playing, but it's also the 3rd of 4 in a row away from home. How big a challenge is that, and do you almost have to think 2, 3, 4 games in advance when you're thinking about your squad and maintaining the fitness of the squad?
Well, in certain things, yes, and especially looking at the opponents and the things that we're going to be able to train or we can replicate in those games. And then, yeah, sometimes ideally we want to plan, okay, for this game we think this player could be better and the load, and some of the times it's just impossible and you have to go game by game. We have more players back now, we have better options, and that's very helpful because obviously we've been giving game time to almost every player.
Because I guess the challenge is for you to try and keep these players happy as well. You always hear these stories when the former Manchester United players talk about Sir Alex Ferguson, and when they're getting rested, in inverted commas, for a game, he says to them, no, I need you for this game, and it makes them feel $1 million. Is that something that you've adopted, that approach?
Well, I don't know the whole context of that, but the first thing is that as a team we prepare the game and we win it. And then when you have rested players or manage the load, it's beautiful because you win. But when the result is different, then it's a bad decision, you shouldn't have done that, it's too much changes, so it's all related to, okay, how we can be performing at the highest level, win, while all those things are happening. That's the ideal scenario, quite tricky.
Have there been sort of occasions where sort of over the last few years where, maybe a player has been offered to you and a very good player and then you've thought maybe he's not the right player for us?
I think you put everything in balance, if you know that, because I don't think he's going to be a bad person, it's can he deal with the role and what the consequences to that more than anything else, and if we believe that he can fulfill the role, make us better, and we can deal with that with all the characters that we have, is fine, but at the end it's a decision that has to be balanced in every area, it's not just one thing, I think.
Hi Mikel. Back on a previous question with Albert, we don't know too much about him. He's obviously been part of your staff since 2019. It said that you struck a rapport with him, I think in Wales, when you're doing your coaching badges with him. What did you see in Albert to bring him into your coaching staff?
First, top person, someone that it's so easy to work, so open, so experienced, and so good at dealing with a lot of people, departments, because he has massive experience and the social skill to do that. And then somebody obviously in the tactical, technical, methodology level, top. So yeah, that's why he's been with us for a long time, and I would love to have him in the team.
What do you mean by the tactical and the methodology aspect?
That,
What do you mean by
that he's really good, the way he's been raised, educated, the experience that I had with other coaches as well. Very rich. He brings other ideas and other ways of thinking as well, and he's someone that he has a very clear opinion about what he wants. He's really good at transmitting that, and it's someone very, very valuable in the team.
You've had a lot of coaching stuff over your tenure so far. Obviously with Albert, he's obviously very experienced, worked in Manchester United, at Wales too. What, in terms of other stuff you've had in the past, with his experience, is there anything in particular that you thought, wow, he adds that extra dimension because of his experience?
With Albert?
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the end as well, it's the chemistry that you feel with the person, you know, and immediately the first time that we got together and we started to talk about the possibility of working together, we had a good energy, we had a good feeling about it, and then yeah, you need to go through a lot, but especially when there are difficult moments, that's when you see people and your staff, and Albert in that sense is top. When things are going well, maybe you don't want to see too much, but when you have to make a decision, there is a problem, someone has to deal with something, he will be there and he will get things done. That's a big quality of his.
Stories when the former Manchester United players talk about Sir Alex Ferguson, and when they're getting rested, in inverted commas, for a game, he says to them, no, I need you for this game, and it makes them feel $1 million. Is that something that you've adopted, that approach?
Well, I don't know the whole context of that, but the first thing is that as a team we prepare the game and we win it. And then when you have rested players or manage the load, it's beautiful because you win. But when the result is different, then it's a bad decision, you shouldn't have done that, it's too much changes. So it's all related to, okay, how we can be performing at the highest level, win, while all those things are happening. That's the ideal scenario, quite tricky.
Talking about tricky, Nottingham Forest and a team managed by Sean Dyche tomorrow. What unique challenges does a team managed by Sean Dyche pose to you?
A top coach, really good at what he does. You can see straight away the fingerprints in the team, the way they play, the results that they got against some of the big teams as well, how difficult they constantly making you, so experienced in the league. So a very tough match.
Last couple for me, Mikel. Manchester City could, of course, cut the gap at the top because they played before you tomorrow. I know your full focus will be on Nottingham Forest, but do you have an eye on that game, given it's so close to your kick-off? And is it difficult to ensure the players are blocked away from what's happening at Old Trafford?
Yeah, we know that we can only focus on what we can do. When the games are earlier, if you have the possibility to see them, you do. If they are later, the same. Nothing changes, but the only focus and the aim is to prepare for a very, very tough match, and we have experienced that over there, and we have to win it.
Just finally, you're fighting on 4 fronts, and I know your focus will always be just on the next game, but just generally, are you smelling a belief that maybe this squad, your players, can achieve something special, maybe something historic this season?
Well, I think we are building very good momentum, and belief comes from performances and the level of consistency that we have shown throughout 32 games already this season. And what we did the other day at Stamford Bridge, it should help us to be very convinced that we have the ability to do that. But the reality is that you have to show it in every game, and there's still so much to happen. But we are glad that we are still alive in the 4 competitions.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Nick from the Premier League. Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
Good morning. My colleague here asked you about Victor Gyökeres. Can I ask you about potentially another striker, Martin Zubimendi? I mean, what a goal against Chelsea. Wonderful goal. And in general, how pleased have you been with Martin's offensive contribution as well?
Well, very happy in the manner that he has settled at the club. When you talk to any member of the staff or player about him, it's a big smile on their face and something very positive for sure coming out their mouths. I think he has earned the respect very, very quickly of everybody here, our supporters, and the league in general, and that's very difficult to do. And he's done it because he's very humble, very focused, incredibly consistent, and on top of that, he's surprising a few people with his ability as well to attack the opposition box.
You carry on leading the league in terms of scoring from set pieces. You've been doing it so well for so long. And when you're doing it so well, what's the biggest challenge of carry on being creative in that department, carry on having this advantage over your opposition?
I think practice, there's not any other secret. I think mastering what you do, the same in many other aspects in the game. You can clearly see the tendency in the league, the amount of the goals and games are decided in that phase of play. It's not only us, it's more any other teams that any time in the history of this league.
Hi Mikel, just talking about a newer member of your coaching staff, you've hired the Thomas Grant, the throwing coach. Can you just tell us why you brought him in?
No, there's no comment about that.
Okay. And just is that an area that you're looking to try and improve on?
We try to improve every single area, every single margin that we possibly can to be a better team, and anybody can help us in many areas. We have many experts, many people around trying to help us to become as good as we can.
Why do you think there's been such an increase in long throws into the box? I think it's double what it was last season.
We cannot look at the game only in that sense. There is a consequence of what happens in other phases, and the time that the teams are spending in certain areas that has a consequence on some specific areas of the game. But there is a lot of things that happen before that, in my opinion.
Right, finally to Kit.
Hi Mikel, you're obviously on an excellent run of form, but most of the recent victories have been quite narrow victories by the scoreline. Given, I suppose, the adversity you faced this season with the injuries, like, how many more levels do you think this team might have to go?
I think we have still a lot of improvement to do in a lot of departments, and that's the ambition that we have identified, and we are identifying constantly things that we can do much better, especially things that can give us bigger margins with very little tweaks.